Welcome to the Oral History Podcast, which features stories from the oral history website voicesofoklahoma.com, where Oklahomans have given generously of their time to tell their life story for present-day listeners and for the generations to come. Our entire collection is available at voicesofoklahoma.com. By subscribing to our podcast, you will be notified of new Oklahoma oral history podcasts. So now listen to another interesting storyteller from voicesofoklahoma.com.
Artist Willard Stone was born and raised in Oktaha, Oklahoma, and was best known for his wood sculptures carved in a flowing Art Deco style. Willard had an early interest in drawing and painting, but at the age of 13, he picked up a blasting cap he found while walking home from school, and it exploded. He lost his thumb and most of 2 fingers on his right hand. However, he became an accomplished sculptor and woodcarver. Willard took art classes at Bacone College, where he studied under Acee Blue Eagle and Woody Crumbo. Crumbo introduced Willard to Thomas Gilcrease, and in 1946, Gilcrease offered Stone an artist-in-residence position at the Gilcrease Museum in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Stone, Crumbo, and Blue Eagle became the Oklahoma artists most closely identified with Gilcrease. After 1961, Willard opened a permanent studio in Locust Grove, Oklahoma, where he worked until his death in 1985. He was inducted into the Oklahoma Hall of Fame in 1970. In addition to the large collection at Gilcrease Museum, his work is collected by many others, including the Smithsonian. Stone's Lady of Spring was included in the 1997-98 White House Art Exhibition honoring Native America. The guide to the White House exhibition calls Stone the unsung hero of Native America sculpture. Willard's daughter, Linda Stone Callery, is our storyteller for this oral history interview, which was recorded in the Willard Stone Museum. And you can hear it now on voicesofoklahoma.com.
My name is John Erling, and today's date is February 8th, 2023. Linda, would you state your full name, please?
Linda Stone Callery.
Your birth date and your present age?
August 15th, 1953. I'm 69.
Does that hurt to tell you that?
Yes. Because in a few months, I won't be in the 60s anymore.
And one day you'll wish you were that age.
That's right.
Where are we recording this interview?
At the Willard Stone Museum in Locust Grove, Oklahoma.
Where were you born?
Pryor Creek, Oklahoma.
Okay. Your mother's name?
Sophie Irene Coger Stone.
Where was she born and where did she grow up?
She grew up and was born in Kingston, Arkansas.
What was her personality like?
Well, thankfully, she had a really good sense of humor, and Dad did too, but Mom had a really good sense of humor. They were both really hard workers because they both, of course, grew up in the Depression, and they were all come from very poor families. So, but they moved from Arkansas to Oklahoma and then settled here in Locust Grove. Her mom's family did.
Her family, right. How did your father and mother meet?
They met at a honky-tonk in somewhere down around Oktaha, between Oktaha and Muskogee. And that's where they had a honky-tonk, and Mom loved to dance, and I can't see Dad dancing, but apparently he did. So
you're going to have to tell everybody what a honky-tonk is.
Well, a honky-tonk is what would you call it today?
It's probably a bar that had dance floor.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it was, a bar with a dance floor. A saloon, maybe a saloon type place,
right,
I guess.
Many interesting characters there, I'm sure.
Oh, yes.
All right, then your father's name?
Jess Willard Stone. He was named after, there was a boxer back in that time. Dad was born in 1916, February 29th, 1916, so he's a leap baby. And his dad loved the boxer, Jess Willard, and that's who he named him after. Dad was the baby of the family.
And why did they choose calling him Willard?
I don't know that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe he didn't like Jess and he changed it to Willard. I don't know. But
Right.
he's always been called, all his family called him Willard. So
then he was born in
Oktaha.
And where is Oktaha?
It's about 11 miles south of Muskogee.
And then he was born, as you said, February 29th, 1916. And then
Yes.
when did he die?
He died March the 5th, 1985.
And how old was he?
69.
Before we get into his work, what was his personality like?
Well, he and Mom both had a really strong sense of humor, and he just joked a lot, he did a lot of joking around, and I mean, he had his angry moments, which we all did, I guess, but he was just a strong worker, hard worker with a great sense of humor. That's how I describe him.
Yeah. So then how many children?
They had 11.
11 children?
They raised 10. My oldest brother died as an infant.
So of the 10, are they all living? No.
There's 7 of us left.
Right.
My oldest sister, and then Jason, he was the 4th one, and then my brother just under him, Danny. They've all passed. Mm-hmm. So Danny, Jason, and Irene, and then Grant was the one that died as an infant.
Your father then grew up in Oktaha?
Yes.
He went to school?
In Oktaha.
They had a high school there?
Yes, but he quit school at 13 because he had the accident with lost his fingers.
And tell us about that accident.
He was walking home from school one day, and he was walking through the field, and he picked up this little round, shiny cap, and happened to be a dynamite cap, and he took it home and lit a match to it. He was 13, boy. And anyway, it blew off these 3 fingers on his right hand, and he was right hand dominant. So he just had stubs here, and then it injured his face and his stomach, and there just happened to be a plastic surgeon in Muskogee at the hospital emergency room that day that would come down like once a month to work with the indigent people. And the day that happened, he was there at that hospital. And he took care, he couldn't, of course, save the fingers, but he took care of the face injury and the stomach injuries. So anyway, lost those 3 fingers at 13, and that he quit school then because he got depressed and because he thought that took away his lifelong dream to be a painter. He wanted to be a painter.
So that was planted in him from a young boy then. He enjoyed, because he was painting then up until that time.
Well, he would, they were very poor. They were a sharecropping family. And his dad died when he was a year and a half old from the Spanish flu that came through in 1917, 18. His dad died from that, and they were sharecropping at the time. And so he lost his dad at 1.5. The sharecropper that owned the land, his mom had already paid cash to rent, pay her part of the sharecropping. And the owner decided that they could not bring in the crop. And so he had 2 hirelings that he wanted them to get rid of Dad's mom and family off the property because he didn't think they could bring in the crop. And she refused to because, she'd already paid cash to rent the place, and plus she had these kids to raise, The first thing, he sent his hirelings to harass them and tell them to move and everything, and she refused. And then one morning, they went out to their well to draw water, and when they pulled the bucket up, there was a bottle of strychnine in the well bucket. They thought when they threw it in, it'd break on the rocks, and contaminate the well and get rid of them. He's had a hand watching over him forever, and then so that happened, and then
so that you're talking about Willard's parents.
It was just his mom because his dad had already passed. Okay. Mom and the 6 kids. Mm-hmm. There was 7 kids. The oldest one had died, but so mom and 6 kids were to bring in the crop. And so after that, they had been down working, clearing land one day, and they all come in. It was cold, and they were really tired, and they lived in a little 2-bedroom sharecropper house. And that night, everybody was so tired and cold, they just kind of laid around the stove and went to sleep. Well, that night, the hirelings for this man threw a bomb on dynamite on the house, and it landed on the room where Dad and his brothers would have been sleeping. But they did not that night. So, he's been protected because he had such a gift, So, and then after that, his mom married a couple of times, and the first guy she married wanted her to get rid of her kids. He had kids of his own, so he wanted her to get rid of her kids.
Which was included Willard then.
Well, he said she could keep Willard and the little one next to Dad. And then, so she divorced him, and then he married again, and the guy had a son Dad's age, and they did not. So he left home and went to live with his oldest sister and really lived there off and on until he went to Bacone.
Willard left it to live with his older sister.
Mm-hmm. So he went through all that. During that time at 13 is when he lost his fingers. And then so you can see how he was protected, looked over all those years.
Yeah, not by humans.
No, it's a God thing. He knew where his gift come from.
Protected,
he really did.
That gift was protected.
Mm-hmm.
So he was drawing then at the age of a young...
Time he could find any kind of paper, whether it was a paper sack from the grocery store. His mom would save up scraps of paper and get him pencils and colors wherever she could find them. And he, from little, all he wanted to do was be like Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci. That was what he... In fact, my youngest brother, his name is Michael da Vinci Stone. I told him, I said, you have a lot to live up to. Right. But anyway, that was Dad's heroes. And when he lost his fingers, he got really depressed because he thought he couldn't paint.
Yeah.
So he took up modeling the red clay out of the ditch. That's where that Lincoln had, was that red clay out of the bar ditch. And he would to rehab his hand, and he started sculpting things then, and he would put them on his mailbox, and he and the mailman kind of had this game going, and the mailman would come by and they would talk about his piece, and the mailman would encourage him. And so from there, the mailman introduced him to Grant Foreman, who was an Oklahoma historian that lived in Muskogee, and he was Boy Scout leader. And so he brought him out one day to meet Dad. He wanted him to meet Dad, and they got him into Bacone. And so that's where he was until he and Mom got married.
Let's go back. You talked about Abraham Lincoln, and you have it right over here. Mm-hmm. That was tell me about that.
He did that when he was 13. That was after he had lost his fingers, and he was working in the clay, the red clay. Mm-hmm. That he would take that red clay out of the bar ditch and screen it and get all the bigger pebbles out of it to where it was just good clay. And he started that, and that was the first big piece he did. It was Abraham Lincoln, and he did it from looking at Abraham Lincoln's picture on a penny.
Wow.
I mean, that's pretty incredible.
So then he might have been 14, 15 years old then by that time.
Yes, probably so.
That creativity had to come oozing out, didn't it? Mm-hmm. He just had to do something.
He had to be a sculptor. That was God's plan for him, was to be a wood sculptor instead of a painter.
And then he must have come up with certain carving tools.
He got a pocket knife somewhere. I don't know. Maybe his mom bought it for him or something, because when he went to live with his oldest sister, he had his pocket knife somewhere along the way. So, whether he sold pop bottles or whatever he did to get the money to buy a pocket knife. And then chisels, I don't know when he started getting those. Maybe they had some around the house. I don't know that. I don't know about that.
And you told me all this great artwork we have and sculptures, all he used was a pocket knife and a chisel.
Chisels.
All into his adult life.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
No fancy tools that he could have purchased.
Right.
Maybe to make it easier. Mm-hmm. I often wondered, how did he make it so smooth? He must have had number 10.
He had several different chisels. I remember he used a V-gouge around the eyes and the mouth, and so he had a lot of different chisels that he'd come up with, but he just didn't want. The only electrical thing he used was a bandsaw to block out the piece.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say sandpaper. Say
lots of sandpaper.
Okay, so he did use that.
Yes, and he would get it to the point for sanding, and then Mom would sand it a lot for him. She'd do a lot of his sanding for him when she had time, which I don't know when that was, but she'd set up. I remember, watching her sit in her chair at night, they'd be watching Bonanza or Gunsmoke or something, and she'd be sanding, and he'd bring, those electrical wire stools, heat spools. He brought one of those in, and he'd work on that at night, and he'd be carving, and he had shavings all over the floor, and, everything, and Mom would be sanding. So he'd work till, early morning hours, and then he had to get up and go to work.
But his mother was so supportive. That's the key.
She was very supportive.
Key to this story, too, isn't it?
Yes.
And then we should mention again Grant Foreman. But didn't he also see his work at the state fairs?
Yes, Dad entered the state fairs. Little carvings. Procter & Gamble had a soap carving competition. And in 1939, I have his award up there, somehow he got word of the Procter & Gamble company having this sculpting from soap contest at the 39 Chicago World's Fair. So Daddy entered that, and he got third place in soap sculpting.
What did he sculpt?
It was a greyhound. There was a man that lived down by Oktaha that raised greyhounds. They did greyhound racing down around Wainwright. And it was a greyhound chasing a rabbit. And, you know, when the greyhound would get right on the rabbit, then the rabbit would switch and turn, and it showed the greyhound kind of in half trying to get the rabbit. So it was a greyhound chasing a rabbit. But anyway, he won third place at the World's Fair that year.
1939.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
It is absolutely amazing. Let's bring him into the art classes at Bacone College. Where is Bacone?
It's in Muskogee.
In Muskogee, all right. And then who were his teachers?
Acee Blue Eagle and Woody Crumbo were the art instructors there at the time. And they were very encouraging to him. They told him that they couldn't really teach him a lot at that point because he already had everything pretty much going. And so they cleaned out a storage room there at the art department at Bacone and said, here, you take this and use it for a studio and create however you want to. So that's what he did at Bacone.
And we should say Acee Blue Eagle.
Yes.
He was an artist, educator, dancer, and his birth name was actually Alexander C. McIntosh.
Really?
Right.
Okay. I didn't realize he was a Macintosh.
Right. And then Woody Crumbo was Potawatomi, an artist, Native American, flute player, and we actually have his story is told by Manisa Halsey Crumbo.
Yes.
And of course, he worked for Mr. Gilcrease, as did your father.
Right.
So after he left Bacone, is that when he got married?
He and Mom got married, and they moved to Oktaha. That's where they had their first 3 babies. And then the World War II started. And Dad couldn't fight in the war because he didn't have these fingers. And so they moved up here to Locust, where Mom's family was, and there was a powder plant in Pryor, ammunition plant over there. So Daddy worked over there a few years of the war.
So we're talking 41, 42.
Yeah, they moved up here in 1940.
40.
Well, they got married in 1940, so they moved up here in like 41, I think.
He actually went to work for Thomas Gilcrease in 1948. So what did he do in those years from 44, 45?
He worked for Mr. Gilcrease from 47 to 49, 3 years as an artist in residence. Before that, he worked at the powder plant. So he worked at I don't know how many years he worked at the powder plant, the ammunition plant there in Pryor. But from there, he went to Mr. Gilcrease.
And Woody Crumbo actually introduced him, didn't he, to Thomas Gilcrease?
Yes.
And then, so did he live there on the grounds?
No, he did not. Because he didn't want to live in town. He wanted to live over here, away from the big city, and he didn't want to raise his kids in a big city. So they stayed here, and he stayed over there some because they didn't have a car. They didn't have a car until 1956. So he would catch rides and work over there. Sometimes he would stay there during the week, and he'd come home on weekends.
Manisa lived on the grounds, I believe, she talked about.
Mr. Gilcrease wanted Mom and Dad to live over there, and actually to run a boys' home is what Mr. Gilcrease wanted them to come, and they just, they already had enough children. So they just didn't want to live in the city. They wanted to live, they'd grown up, in farms, and that's what they wanted. Daddy he loved animals. He talked to all the animals. He wanted every kind of animal he could find. We had all kinds of animals.
Did he talk about working for Thomas Gilcrease?
Not a lot that I remember, because I wasn't born until 1953. But I had asked him a lot of questions because I followed him around all the time. There was a man there, Charlie Brato, and he taught Dad how to make plaster molds. And he and Mr. Brato did a lot of plaster work for Mr. Gilcrease. And the first Gilcrease, they had tiles in the front entryway, and Dad and Mr. Brato had made those tiles, plaster tiles for the entrance to the museum there.
Okay.
So he learned all that from Mr. Brato at Gilcrease.
Okay. I have a letter here that your father wrote to Mr. Gilcrease.
Okay.
And this was January 8th, 1947. Dear Mr. Gilcrease, at last I am beginning to make a little headway, I think. I am carving on that piece of ebony wood, and if I can get anything out of it worth looking at, I will have a lot more confidence in myself than I have right now. The reason I'm reading so slow here is that this was very light ink. Included is a drawing of an eagle dancer that I hope you will be interested in and hope to carve for you when I get more good wood for it.
Mr. Gilcrease told him that he brought this piece of ebony, which he said was the hardest wood in the world. He said, if you can carve something out of this, then that'll show me that you're a wood sculptor. So I don't know if you've seen that piece at Gilcrease. He did a buffalo that'd been killed, laying on its side. And there was an arrow. Carved a little arrow, and he put it in the buffalo, and people kept stealing the arrow out of the buffalo, so they finally just took it out. But anyway, that's what he carved out of that piece of ebony, was a dying buffalo.
So was that his audition?
I guess. That's what that's the story I was told, that Mr. Gilcrease said, if you can make something out of this wood, then you're good. So
Right.
I guess that's kind of what started it with him.
Right. Willard had his own distinct style, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
And it was influenced by other style.
Well, yeah, kind of an Art Deco, maybe, style, because it's very free-flowing. Although, some of it's very detailed, but he liked to elongate, like the horse's legs or the different things. He would just stylize it like that, more like that Art Deco look.
Mm-hmm. But then he also took on topics, contemporary topics.
He's very philosophical. Daddy had very strong opinions, on his beliefs and everything, and he put that in his wood, and sometimes it got him in trouble. But, on the political side of it.
He was interested in the nuclear warfare.
Yes, he did several war pieces that belonged to Gilcrease.
One called Atomic Age.
Yes, and the War Widows.
So was it kind of his protest against war? Was he protesting? And
I don't know if protesting is the right word. He just had such deep feelings about it, and the destruction that it caused. So maybe in his mind it was. I don't want to say what wasn't, but he just had very deep thoughts about the war and about politics, and showed that in his work. He did a lot of Native American art, but then he did a lot of animals. He loved animals, like I said, animals and kids.
Gilcrease has many, many pieces. How many? About 50 something?
No, I think it's quite a bit more than that. The last I heard, and I'm not sure exactly, but it was around 80 pieces.
And for the record, we should say that Gilcrease is not open right now because they're building a beautiful new
facility,
yes. And we're looking forward to that opening. I don't know when that's going to open. If it's 24, 25, or 26, and here we're in 2023. Then after he left Gilcrease, he actually worked in Tulsa.
Yes, for Ernest Wyman. Ernest Wyman Ironworks. He designed.
And what was that? Ironworks. What did
Ornamental Ironworks. Designed furniture. He did tables. I mean, he would carve the design, and then Mr. Wyman would make molds off the design and do his patio furniture, and even
chairs
and
tables.
Bed frames, fences. I mean, they use that ornamental ironwork for all that.
I can see gates too, I would imagine,
yes,
getting pretty
gates
fancy.
He had some specific designs that he did for Mr. Wyman.
I wonder if he thought, I can hardly wait so that I don't have to work for somebody.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but like I said, they have 10 kids, so
right.
He had to work to be able to do his artwork. And he would, like I said, he'd catch a ride I don't know if you're ready for McDonnell Douglas yet.
Yes.
But from Mr. Wyman, he went to work for McDonnell Douglas. Mm-hmm. And he was a die maker at McDonnell Douglas. And there was a wall where he would stand, a concrete block wall, and he would sketch all over that wall during his day. And when they got ready to In fact, he has a print that's called Stone's Wall of Conception from that, took a picture of that piece of concrete block wall. Anyway, when they got ready to tear down the building or whatever they did out there, they were going to give that piece of wall to us, but it didn't work out, so we didn't get it. But
Whatever happened to it?
I have no idea. Yeah. I would love to have it, but I don't know what happened to it. So he did that, and he worked for them for about 10 years, and he got sick. He got spider bit, and he was off work for 2 weeks, and then they laid him off. So it's kind of like, okay, it's decision time. Can I make a living off of my art? And that's what forced him to make that decision to go art full time.
In 1961?
Yeah, early 60s. I'm not sure exactly what year. I was maybe 8 or 9. Okay. So, and he would always bring me, when his ride would drop him off down at the road, he would save me something in his lunchbox. And he would always, one day he brought me a little horned toad that had shown up at work, and he brought it home to me. And I would always run to meet him when he was walking up the hill and see what he had left for me in his lunchbox. So
a horn, not a real one.
Yeah, it was a real one. Somehow it came, they used to be over here in this part of the state, a lot of them.
Horned toads?
Uh-huh. But now they're all pretty much west.
Did he develop a love of animals to you and you too then?
Yes. In fact, I rehab wildlife.
Okay.
Yeah. It's owls and...
Did you ever try to be an artist?
He told me that since I was a female, I couldn't sculpt. Which made me not very happy. But he told me I was supposed to paint.
Did you try painting?
Yeah, I do. I paint. I paint and I do glasswork, fuse glass on my paintings. Paint the canvas and then add. But I lost all that in the fire, and so I don't know what I'm doing now.
But you have that creative, that artistic feel in you.
I still have all these ideas in my head. I just don't know what I'm doing with them at this point. So
back then to when he opens a permanent studio here in Locust Grove. Mm-hmm. Now, is that where the property?
Yes,
here?
this is where they wound up. They lived in town for a couple of years, and then this place came up, and they bought it for like $1 an acre, I think. And they have 60 acres here.
All right. And there are 2 houses here. Did he live in one of these 2 houses?
Okay. Well, this one here, there's one house.
Yeah.
Behind it is one of his shop buildings. He started with a little old building right up here on the hill.
Okay.
And then he built this one right behind the house, so he could just go out the back door and up the steps into his shop. And that's where he worked. And then he outgrew that one, and he built another one. So he's had 3 different shop buildings on this property.
But he never saw this museum.
Yes, he's the one that built this museum.
He built this that we are sitting in right now.
In the mid-'70s.
Okay.
Mid to late 70s.
And all around it, it's not all that big a room. I don't know what the dimensions are.
24 by 30, I think it's what
all right. And his work encircles the whole place, and it's extremely interesting. And those of you who are interested in his life, which everybody should be, you ought to at least come here. We'll talk about your plans for the future of this. But there he has a bust of Henry Bellman, which became bronze in our state capitol. We talked about the Abraham Lincoln bust that he did. Mm-hmm. And I can go around, and I can't talk about everything, but I want you to know it's all surrounded by his beautiful work.
All the small pieces belong to what's called Sophie's Doghouse Collection. Whenever they would get in an argument and she wouldn't talk to him, and he couldn't stand that, so he'd go carve her a little carving and bring it in and give it to her, and he said that was to get him out of the doghouse. So all these little carvings are from Mom's doghouse collection.
He'd get in trouble with his wife,
yes, Sophie, yes.
So then he'd carve her a little
to
dog.
Get her getting good with her again. So yeah,
that's cute. And so that collection is sitting over here.
Yes.
Did you remember watching him work?
Yes, I do. Like I said, I followed him around from little. I was with him all the time. I don't know. I just was interested in art all my life, and so I'd follow him around. But he would hold his chisel in his right hand without those fingers because he's right-handed, and he would hold the chisel like this in his hand, and he would guide it with his left hand. And I can still see that in my head. I wrote a story over there called Around the Workbench, and that kind of talks about how, but I can just still see his hands doing that. Mm-hmm. It's really
overcame that disability.
Mm-hmm.
And his first workbench is sitting right over here.
Yes.
I've taken a picture of that in the last couple of pieces that he was actually working on when he died. You know, it's interesting that this talent will spring up in any small town. You don't have to be in a big town to have talent.
Right.
It springs up everywhere because his work began to be exhibited on a regional basis and nationally as well.
Mm-hmm. He started out going to little weekend art shows. Like, I remember, and my two sisters and I, we were real close in age, and he would have Mom braid our hair. We always had have our hair braided. And he would take us to these weekend art shows with him, and he would show us off, and we were real shy, so we just giggled, and he told them that we couldn't speak English, that we only spoke Cherokee. And anyway, we would do that, and he would pull his station wagon up to his booth and open the back and set a little table out, and he'd sit there and carve. He did not like doing that at all. He wasn't real comfortable around people, and he just wanted to carve. He just wanted to be here carving, and which is one reason why he built this building, because people stopped by all the time, and they wanted to visit with him, and he was trying to work. And so he built this so they could see his work, and Mom could show him his work, and he could still be, in
another shop
working
right near here.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
I probably can understand that.
Well, it's hard to get any work done. Not that he, obviously he wanted people to see his work, but that wasn't the most important thing to him. The most important thing to him was just doing it. It was just inside him so much, and he just had to do it.
He actually cast in ceramic and bronze.
Yes, he. Well, that's the little Exodus, which is the Cherokee Nation owns the large Exodus, and he did a trilogy called The Trail of Tears. Mm-hmm. The Uprooted is at the Five Civilized Tribes Museum in Muskogee, and then he did the Exodus, which belongs to the Cherokee Nation, and then Transplanted, which belongs to the Cherokee Nation. So those three pieces tell the story of the Trail of Tears. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, he people wanted more, so he made three different sizes of the Exodus, because he didn't ever want to make two of the same thing. He didn't want to make copies of it because that was boring to him. But he made the little Exodus, and someone had copied it and made a really, really bad copy of it, and it made him a little upset. And so he carved a little one, and they made a mold off of it, and then he bought Mom the stuff to make ceramics with. So she and my sister would make the ceramics, and then we made it into bronze. That's bronze there. That one's bronze.
I have just set the Exodus bronze in front of me.
And it's like two teardrops. And this is a teardrop, and this is a teardrop.
And why is it called Exodus?
Because when they had to leave their home in Tennessee and Georgia,
that's the trail.
The Exodus.
He's calling that the Trail of Tears, and he called it Exodus.
Well, the trilogy was called the Trail of Tears. The three pieces together were the Trail of Tears trilogy. This is the first piece in the trilogy called the Exodus, is when they were walking, actually had to leave and come to Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. That's what this one represents. Mm-hmm. The first one was the Uprooted, was where they were uprooted from their home and sent on the trail, and then this is while they were on the trail. And then the Transplanted shows the mother and the baby and her planting something in the ground, and they were thanking God for giving them a new home and a good place to grow their crops and raise their families. So that's what Transplanted is.
Like a piece like I'm looking at in front of me, how long do you think it would take him to carve that?
He could actually do them this size, fairly quick. Now the original of this, it's like.
So would it take him a couple of weeks, a month? Or?
A couple of weeks, maybe he could do one like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bigger ones, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Depending on how detailed it was,
He produced commissioned pieces for the National Hall of Fame for famous American Indians at Anadarko in 1964.
Mm-hmm. He did a bust of Alice Brown Davis from McAllister, and he took that to the New York World's Fair, in 1964, and he presented it there at that World's Fair in New York City at that time.
The Oklahoma Historical Society, he did a piece for them in 65. The National Cowboy Hall of Fame and Western Heritage Center in Oklahoma City in 1966.
They have a few pieces at that museum. The Five Tribes has several pieces. Cherokee Nation has several pieces.
He received the Outstanding Indian Award from the Council of American Indians.
Yes.
He identified himself as being Cherokee, but he was not an enrolled member of any Cherokee tribe,
Right.
making that claim somewhat controversial.
To everyone but him.
Okay.
It was very important. This part of his heritage was very, very important to him. Whatever he could do for the Cherokee Nation, he did. He was big with Chief Keeler, W.W. Keeler, when he was chief, is when he did the trilogy pieces. And it was just really, it was really important to him to support the Cherokee Nation any way he could.
Why was he not enrolled?
His family, there was a lot of families that did not sign up on the rolls. There was a group of them that left the Trail of Tears and went to Texas not to have to be on that Trail of Tears. And so they went and they traveled to Texas and they settled in Parker County, Texas. And then they were rounded up and moved to Oklahoma. And his family didn't think it was right, and so they did not sign up.
So then people questioned, you're not on the roll, and there was a good reason for it.
Yes.
Because he was
and
Cherokee.
That happened to a lot of people.
How was he Cherokee? From his father or his mother?
His mother. Lida, her name was Lida Hedrick, was her last name. The Stone family actually came from Stone Mountain, Georgia, from there. So we don't know exactly where all it came from, but I had my DNA done and I got a certificate with a high degree of Cherokee. So, but that's not acknowledged. As
I'm looking at you, you have that look of a Native American in you. Very nice, I might say.
Well, thank you.
Right, and so you are Cherokee for sure, and so that came from your father, because your mother was not at all. Well, so it confirms it.
Yeah, well, you would think. They was going to give him an honorary roll number after he died, but there was a faction of councilmen that did not want that to happen. And so they said they did our genealogy and we were Mexican. So.
Oh, and they did the genealogy. You said you were Mexican.
Right. So it's been a little.
Well, that's the controversy then that went with that. If his parents had only enrolled them, that would have taken care of that.
But, so many didn't, because if you enrolled, then you got an overseer for your property and your family. And they take your kids and put them in boarding school.
Oh, okay.
And so that, a lot of them didn't sign up because of that. And
they would lose control.
And the overseers would take their land and things.
Okay.
And the kids were not allowed to even be Cherokee because they sent them to boarding school to be white, And so that was why a lot of people didn't sign up. They didn't want to.
Are you on the roll now? Did you register?
No, you can't unless they have a lineage back to the Dawes Commission. You have to be somebody on the Dawes Commission.
But former Chief Wilma Mankiller, she had enough faith in him to believe that he was Cherokee because she designated him as a tribal artisan in 1991. And that allowed him to present his artwork as being American Indian made under the 1990 Indian Arts and Crafts Act.
Yes.
So there's another area where Wilma Mankiller showed leadership.
Yes.
Okay, and we've already said this. The Exodus in the collection of the Cherokee Heritage Center is especially well known, was used extensively in Cherokee publication. His Lady of Spring was included in the 97-98 White House Art Exhibition, 20th Century American Sculpture at the White House, honoring Native America.
Yes.
The guide to the White House exhibition calls Stone the unsung hero of Native American sculpture and describes Lady of Spring which is an elongated female nude, as classic Art Deco. And then it was the Gilcrease Museum held its first major exhibition in 20 years devoted to his work, entitled Storyteller in Wood.
Yes.
Now, you remember all that.
Yes.
And that was quite an exhibition then,
Yes, it
wasn't
was. Yes, it was. It was a great show. And they published a great book from that.
I've forgotten now. When did he die? What year?
1985.
He was inducted into the Oklahoma Hall of Fame in 1970.
Yes.
Bacone College awarded him an honorary degree in 72.
Yes.
Oklahoma Christian College in Oklahoma City designated him a distinguished American citizen in 74 and awarded him an honorary Doctor of Humanities degree in 1976. And I'm relishing reading all that based on the fact there's still some controversy about him,
Being
his
an artist.
heritage, and whether he's an artist or not.
Right. Yes.
He received a total of 10 awards between 69 and 80 in jury competitions at the Five Civilized Tribes Museum in Muskogee, which you referred to,
Yes.
including that of Master Artist in 1973.
Yes.
I rest my case.
Oh, yes.
And then he died March 5th, 1985. He was buried in the family cemetery at his home near Locust Grove. Is that near here?
Yes, it's on the south side of the house. We have a little family cemetery out there. He said he never wanted to leave the place. So when he died, we said, okay.
So he's buried not far
Yeah.
from where we're sitting.
Right.
Is there a marker, a big marker?
Yes, we have a headstone and out there, and yes, he and Mom. And
You went to get one of his pieces
okay,
here.
this is called Rain Crow Illusion. See the bird?
Say that again.
Rain Crow Illusion.
Rain
Crow
crow illusion.
Illusion. Okay, see this bird right here is the rain crow.
Yeah.
Okay, and as I turn it around, it becomes the head of the phoenix bird.
Oh my.
Isn't that great? It's
Oh,
my favorite piece.
let me do that.
Okay.
So as you turn it from the rain crow side and you
Yes.
turn it around, it becomes
the head of a phoenix bird, which is the rebirth that shows. He said the rain crow would alert the phoenix bird when at the 100 years, every 100 years, the legend is the phoenix bird would be reborn. And it was the rain crow that let the phoenix bird know when it was time.
oh, that is just a miracle to look at that.
I know, and it's the only piece he did that's like this. And this is my favorite piece.
So he did this piece.
Mm-hmm.
Did he duplicate many pieces?
No, he didn't. He didn't like to duplicate. Now he would duplicate them in bronze because people wanted them, and he did not want to carve two of the same pieces. Not that he didn't want to make two of the same thing, but he also it wasn't exciting to him to do
Right.
two of the same pieces.
He'd lost his
Right. So we
initial-
have this in bronze too.
Okay.
So several pieces that people really liked, he would do in bronze and sell the limited edition bronze.
What do you think the worth of this is?
Oh gosh.
Priceless. Priceless, right?
Yeah, it really is. I mean,
You don't know how to.
on our insurance, I mean, we have a
Oh,
price on it, but
sure.
I think I have probably 12,000.
I just feel fortunate holding
Yeah, isn't it
holding
great?
it.
And he actually, I mean, go to the museums and you can't touch anything, but Daddy liked because the oil in your fingers, the oil in your hands feeds
Oh.
the wood, and he liked people to hold his pieces. He wanted them to be able to feel the wood. So,
Oh, that is just so miraculous.
isn't that great?
Thank you for getting that piece right.
Here.
So, are any pieces for sale here?
No,
Oh, shucks.
all the wood pieces are family pieces.
I
in
brought
here.
my checkbook.
Oh yeah, well okay, 900,000 will get you whatever. Anyway,
Right. So, the Willard Stone Museum, where we are now, by his home place here in Locust Grove, but you have plans to move out of this building. Tell us your plan.
well, this building, obviously, he just made it as a place to put his work so people could come see, but he didn't make it museum, as it should be. There's no restroom there. It is handicap accessible, but there,
Right.
And so after he died, and then Mom passed away in 2012, and so the property belongs to my youngest brother, but it's not conducive really for people to come, visit because it's just not It's not big enough. It's not, not having a restroom is a big thing. And getting up here and parking and all that is just not feasible and I want it to be a quality museum. And the architect that we have, we got our 501c3 in December of 2019. We had our first fundraiser the first weekend in March of 2020. We raised enough money then to buy, there was an old bank building, the first bank building in Locust Grove was built in 1912. So we raised enough to buy that building and have the demolition done inside. And the architect has drawn up a great building. And so we want to renovate that bank building, keep the outside looking like it did in 1912, but, make it into a museum.
Right. And so what kind of money is it going to take to make that happen?
Well, right now, I have a building manager, and our budget is that right now to get the building renovated, worthy of the museum, is $900,000 is what I need right now. Mm-hmm. We need $50,000 just to get the electricity done, which is our first step, because you can't do anything else in the building without the electricity. So we're in the fundraising. So far, that's what we've been able to raise. Right. And then COVID hit, so it kind of strangled us as far as fundraising.
Well, it's a great idea what you want to do as you're renovating that bank building. It's preserving history there and then preserving his work inside of it.
Right.
It's a great idea. We should mention Jason Briggs Stone, your brother. Mm-hmm. He was fairly talented himself.
Yes, he was.
But he died May 31st of last year?
Last year.
2022. He was 76.
Yes.
And did he work with your father?
Yes, he was Dad's, I call him the heir apparent, of the kids. He was who Dad picked to carry on his work. And so he gave Briggs we call him Briggs. His name's Jason. Daddy gave everybody nicknames. So his nickname was after Briggs and Stratton Motors. So anyway, he grew up Briggs, and that's all we know him as. But very, very gifted mechanically in the carvings. He does a great job. He did a great job.
He could do that. Probably didn't inherit the creativity of your father.
Maybe not the soul,
right?
The inner soul of it, but he could carve anything that Daddy gave him to carve.
But he was a master artist for the Five Civilized Tribes Museum.
Yes, he was. And they have pieces of his work there. And he has pieces like the Zorros had pieces of his work, and the Griffins, and several collectors of his work.
Did his children, did they pick up on any of this artistic ability?
He has a daughter that actually does carve. She doesn't do it all the time. She has taken it up, and she's very good at it too, but she's not actively doing it right now. Mm-hmm. She's just been getting her master's and working school, getting school.
Okay.
Done, so.
Well, she's got a long life yet. Mm-hmm. So what was your nickname? He just called me Lenny. Lenny?
Yeah. It was funny. I was number 8, and I asked Mom. Everybody was named after somebody. And I asked Mom who I was named after. She said, well, that was the popular name that year. I go, well, that makes me feel real good.
Right.
But all the other ones were. But anyway, my nickname was Lenny. My oldest sister, Irene, she was named after my mom. Her nickname was Skis, and I don't know where that came from. But yeah, he just liked nicknames. He loved animals. He talked to all of our farm animals, and...
Well, here I have the names. You can help me. Irene Skes Stone? Skis. Why did he name her Skis?
I don't know why he picked Skis.
Nettie Sanders, Evelyn Holland, Lida. Henson.
She was named after his mother.
You, Linda, Callery, Grant, Stone.
Grant was the oldest. He was at the top of the list. Grant Willard.
Okay. And then Danny Stone, Dwight Stone, Rocky Stone, and
Michael Stone.
Mm-hmm. What traits of your father did you admire most, or hope that you had, or that you're still working on today? Some of his characteristics and traits. What did you admire the most about him?
Well, like I said, I liked all his ability to create this out of wood the way he did. I was always amazed at that and was paying attention to that all the time. So that and his sense of humor, I think, and he taught us. Well, his favorite poem was a poem by Edward Guest called "It Couldn't Be Done," and in that poem it just says that I had it up, but you'll have to read it sometime. But it's called "It Couldn't Be Done," and it overcoming is somebody said it couldn't be done with. I with a grin replied that I wouldn't be so until I tried, and it's just kind of saying that if you want to, you can do whatever your God-given talent is. Mm-hmm. And he always told us that we were not better than anyone else, but that no one else was better than us. Mm-hmm. Because in the art world, he came from a very poor family, and he had to deal with influential people, and that intimidated him. Mm-hmm. Because that could be intimidating. And he was shy. So he always told us that, and no matter what race we were, that no one's better than us, but we're not better than anyone else either. Right. So I think that's very important. And I think that's why I want his story to be told, all that he overcome, and he still accomplished what he wanted to accomplish. Now, he never reached perfection, which he said, there's only one perfect person. And so it was striving for perfection.
In his work.
In his work, yes.
Right. I suppose a lot of artists would probably say that. They're working for that perfection.
Yes.
And when we look at it, we think it is perfection.
Yeah, really? Yes. All right.
His work, do you sell any of his work at all, his sculptures?
We sell not the wood, because I'm trying to increase our collection for the museum when we get it made. Now we have bronzes that we sell, and we put his images on mugs and tiles and different things to sell. But
this Exodus bronze right here, how much do you sell that?
Yes.
How much is that?
$4,000.
$4,000. Mm-hmm. I'll get back to you on that.
Okay. You said you wrote your check.
Oh.
You said it.
I did.
Or you could do this one for, no, not really. It's wood.
Right, the wood one. Was the bronze made of that?
Yes. Everything he made bronzes out of, he sold out the edition. He usually did 13. That was his lucky number. When he lost his fingers at 13, which he got really depressed, but that he come to realize that was his lucky number, because that's when his life changed to doing wood sculpting instead of thinking he wanted to be a painter. Mm-hmm. So
how did it play out in the rest of his life? 13.
Well, he wanted 13 kids. The mom said, that might be your lucky number, but it's not my lucky number.
He was 13 because of the 13 number?
Yes. And he would have been happy if there had been 13 boys, but that's just the way he was. But anyway.
But it sounds like you had a special bond with him.
I did. But he still favored the boys. He just did. But yes, in fact, my sisters always called me princess because,
He seemed to like you maybe more than the other.
And it's probably because I followed him around and I was interested in his work, Yeah. So, yeah.
How would you like him to be remembered?
As an overcomer and an achiever of his purpose in life, to tell the stories that he tells through his work. Mostly, I think the kids today, if they can see his story and learn his story about what all he overcame, then I think that would give them hope.
Right.
And adults too, as far as that goes, But that's what I want to get across to people.
Right. And so let's list it. He was born back in the days of Depression in his family, and they had a hard time making ends meet. Mm-hmm. And I'll let you, and then of course that accident when he cut off 2 fingers.
3 fingers.
And a thumb.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And so then that's when he decided, well, I'm not going to stop.
Yeah, I can't paint, but I can sculpt. Now that doesn't make sense to me, but
right,
because it takes more to sculpt than to paint. as far as I'm concerned.
But he had to express himself, didn't he?
Yes.
So overcame all of that to become this celebrated man that he was. I'm talking too much about it myself. I want you to be doing that.
No,
So you want
I
him
just-
to be remembered. You've already stated how
Right.
much he overcame.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, and he has an overcoming story that I think the world needs to know.
Right.
So
Has a book been written about him?
no, my sister and I have always planned on writing a book, and there has been ones kind of written about him, like when David Milstein did the book on Thomas Gilcrease. There's a chapter in there about Dad, and then Gilcrease published the last book. It's down of all the work that they have of his, and kind of told his story in that. But as far as his life story and really what all he overcome and everything that I learned from him and that he taught us has not been. That is my hope to do that. I would like to do that.
We need
Write
to
that book.
we need to find writers that'd be interested in him. I'm enjoyed being here and visiting with you about him. I'm really impressed with his story. You can read about it, but when you see his work and visit with you about it, our website is visited by students, educators, and all. And so I'm hoping they draw hope and inspiration from this story, because that's exactly what it is. So thank you, Linda.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Should say we tried to do this before COVID hit. When COVID hit, we put it aside, and now we finally did it on February 8th, 2023.